Hello to all my friends and followers. Thank you so much to everyone that's been very positive about my episodes so far. Clicking like and subscribing. It's much appreciated to everyone that's been supporting me so far. So today's Random Thoughts is a bit of a serious one. I want to talk about cancer. My time hop, memories on my social media reminded me that this time 11 years ago, I was going through chemotherapy. So in March 2010, I was diagnosed with cancer. I then started chemotherapy on the 20th of April. I went into hospital for the first time. Chemotherapy was the only option for my type of cancer. So I had testicular cancer. And it had spread to the lymph nodes in my chest and things like that. They've done x-rays and things like that. For those that don't know, that's quite serious. Basically, that's now kind of near my lungs and everything that's going on. Chemotherapy was the only option. There's many of you may know somebody that's going through testicular cancer. Some of you may be going through it now and things like that. Some of you may go through it in the future. But it's not the same for everyone. That just because somebody's had testicular cancer or things like that, there's different types and the treatments are very different, things like that. It's a very, very complex process. So radiotherapy and things like that wasn't an option for me. It was basically this type of chemo or nothing. I'd kind of stupidly left it weeks. Now, I probably found the lumps probably in February, maybe even early, maybe January. I was in the bath and I just happened to be like kind of checking myself. Now, at the time, I've been asked since by the professionals when they were examining me and things like, did you have any symptoms? No, I had nothing. I had no idea. There was nothing untoward. I was just myself, feeling normal at the time, no issues whatsoever. And they were like, well, what made you check yourself? And honestly, I can't answer that at all. I feel that a bit like when maybe you've got a toothache and you kind of like, and your tongue goes to find an issue in your gums, or you kind of, your finger starts poking because your body knows there's something wrong. I think it was a bit like that. I think a part of me knew subconsciously that there was something going on down there. I'd never checked myself before. I'd never followed any of the advice where they say check 'em lads and all that kind of stuff on a regular basis. I hadn't, I just happened to be having a bath for whatever reason, subconsciously or otherwise, just kind of went to check. Now, I've had some male friends asking me because they want to know when they're checking themselves, like what was it? How did you find it? What was it? What was different? So the first thing was one of my testicles, I could put pressure on without it really hurting. That was a big red flag for me. I was like, this is, lads, we all know how sensitive they are. That was weird. I was like, I don't think that's normal. At that point, then I found some lumps. The best way I could describe it is imagine a round-headed screw, okay? Stick that in a grape and then kind of just run your finger over the bump. It was just like that, really, okay? It just felt like a little tiny bump on my testicle that didn't really hurt a little bit, but not too much when I put pressure on it. And there was only one. There was just one little bump at this point in January. Now, like many blokes, I felt self-conscious. At that point, I'd never been in hospital before. I had never gone to the doctors really for anything. I'd been in pretty good health all my entire life. I was in my late 20s, so just normal, everything normal. I left it a good couple of weeks before I made an appointment to get this properly looked at. The first GP that saw it kind of said, yeah, don't worry, sometimes it could be, it might not be what you think it is. Sometimes it can be this, that, the other. Within like 5 minutes of him checking, he was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to refer you to a specialist. So, he straight away could tell that there was something. And honestly, the ball got rolling really quick. Like, things just started happening from that point on. The next people that I went to go and see was at the local kind of hospital. It was a hospital in Rugby, and the doctors, that it was a teaching hospital, so they said, do you mind if any of the student doctors, assist in this examination and things like that? I was like, no, that's fine. I appreciate that people need to learn, and the only way they can learn is, by participating in this kind of stuff, like hands-on. So, remembering I'd never really been to a hospital before, I'd never had anyone looking at my private parts or anything like that before in my life. It was a little bit daunting, I'll be honest. I did feel a little self-conscious. This wasn't normal to me. But I also knew how important this was, that I needed to get this checked and everything. So, get on with it. The kind of senior doctor was overseeing, and there were 2 student doctors that were looking. I'm going to refer to one of them as Afro hair, because he had like proper fluffy hair, he had very fluffy kind of browny blonde hair, but it was like fluffier than mine. It was quite amazing. Kind of surfer dude. He kind of just reminded me of like some like chilled surfer dude. Like, yeah, man, yeah. And then there was a young blonde-haired doctor. She was there as well. Now, when they were examining me, the senior doctor oversaw, and the young lass, very professional, she said, do you mind if I said, no, it's fine. And she starts checking, and the senior doctor saying, can you tell the difference on the testicle and things like that? And she's like, yeah, okay, things like that. Now, bless, I think the young lad, the Afro hair, was a little bit nervous about doing this. So he's then checking me himself. This is getting pretty awkward for me as well at this point, but he then checks me. He's looking at he's kind of staring and focusing and trying to be, studious, being diligent, and he's checking and things like that. But the doctor's telling him to check my face at the same time, so you know whether or not you're hurting the patient. Good advice. So instead of looking at my face, he's kind of looking down, and so he then looks at my face. But then the doctor says, so then you need to be checking it, and then checking his face. But I think as a reaction, he couldn't seem to like kind of check there and look at my face at the same time. So he flips back, carries on checking me, and the senior doctor starts getting quite loud, quite serious, and starts going, no, look at his face. Look at his face! So I'm led there like, whoa, like this is so surreal. I've got some guy telling some other guy to look at his face while he's checking me. Weirdest moment. Like, at least the top 5 weird moments in my life, easily. So then that gets kind of escalated. They've checked. There's definitely I'm booked in for surgery and appointments and things like that. I'm meeting chemo specialists who tell me how many sessions I'm going to have in hospital, and it's all kind of like planned out. If I could go back, I would definitely go and check. I'd go to a doctor sooner. I was an absolute moron for leaving that and being self-conscious and not letting the professionals look at me sooner. I completely understand, lads, that it's a nerve-wracking thing to do. If I'd got it checked sooner, by the time, like, kind of I was going in for surgery, and by the time, the hospital had looked at it and things like that, more lumps had appeared. I now didn't just have one kind of like little bump. There was like multiple in a row. And I could really put pressure on that testicle now, and it basically died. It's something. It needed to be removed. It was gone. So my advice would be, please don't be self-conscious. Go see a doctor if you find something like that. You need to. If I'd done that, it might not have spread to my lymph nodes. I was told. So the idea was chemo was going to reduce the size of the lymph nodes, so it's going to shrivel them up, and I could then have them surgically removed. That was the best case scenario. That was the goal, okay, that they was aiming for, was to reduce the lymph nodes to get to a state to remove it. I was like, all right, okay. I didn't look into any of this. It's a bit, people ask me like, weren't you scared and stuff? And it was like, I didn't realize the severity of it. I didn't understand at the time how it being in my lymph nodes, how serious that was, and how, near my lungs. I hadn't actually comprehended it. I didn't look into anything. I didn't Google search anything. I just, whatever the doctors told me to do, whatever they told me the treatments were, I just went along with it. I just took all the medicines they told me. I did everything that they said and just trusted to them. I didn't freak myself out by looking into it. I just tried to keep a positive look and think, okay, well, let's just get on with this. At that, I think it's worth noting as well, as I said, I was in my late 20s going through all this. I've never smoked in my life, never done any form of drugs ever. So, I drank moderately, I exercised moderately, I ate normally. I was, just doing normal stuff. And yet this happened to me. I got this, I got cancer. In the end, everything worked out all right. Obviously, I'm here. I had to, I'd found out that obviously chemo, you can lose your hair, but it doesn't happen to everyone. It's not a guarantee for everyone. But I had hair like this. I didn't like the idea of bits of like my hair falling out in clumps when it's like this. Okay, that it was going to bother me. So I decided to shave it all off. Which I did. I'm glad I did, because by the time I started chemotherapy, a couple of weeks into it, I only had like very short shaved hair, as you hopefully can see from the pictures. I then was finding it coming out in clumps, and I had like patches until eventually it had all kind of gone. My eyebrows had gone, my beard had gone. And definitely as the weeks went on, I felt awful. Some of the things that apparently are quite common when you're going through chemotherapy that I'd never heard of until it happened to me is the smell of warm food can make you nauseous. So that happened to me. Like, I couldn't stand or be around the smell of warm food. I was struggling to eat. I had to have like cold sandwiches. The problem is, if you're in a hospital, and if anyone watching this is in charge of this system and is it like can change any of this, I really wish you would. The normal procedures on a hospital ward are, when you if you're leaving on one day, you order the meal for the next person that's going to be in your bed. Basically, if you're going to be discharged, so every day you put your meal order in for the next day. Somebody then the next day, if they're in your bed, that gets your meal because there's not enough time for them to put their own order in. So unfortunately, sometimes when I'd go into hospital for my chemo treatments, I would get, somebody would have ordered, understandably, they wanted it. That's what they thought, and they didn't know that they were going to get discharged or whatever. They ordered a warm meal, and it was just no good for me. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't look at it. The smell of it was, so I had to move it away. And then obviously, if you're in an open ward, other people around you have all got these warm meals. I don't know what the solution is there, but definitely I think they need to consider, cancer patient wards a little bit more for the meal times, because that was really hard on me. And I tried to ask, could it be all right if my partner brought in some food, some sandwiches for me, and they were a bit funny about it. In the end, we just ended up smuggling them in anyway, because I needed to eat, and I couldn't touch their stuff. So that was like one weird kind of effect that I had going through it. As weeks went on, I felt awful and things like that. But eventually, the good news came when it came to the final thing. They checked the size of the lymph node, and I got the best news ever, which was it was total remission. I didn't even need to have the surgery to remove the lymph nodes. It was just total remission. It was amazing. So I was very, very fortunate that I came out of that all okay. But a lot of friends and some family didn't know what to say to me or how to handle me during that whole experience while I was going through all of that. They actually distanced themselves, and they apologized. I met up with them years later. I think it was on a stag do, and one of them said, "Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't get in touch or talk to you much during that period. I just didn't know what to say." And I think that's an important thing for anyone going through this to understand is that some of your friends and family may not know how to talk to you about this. They may not know how to approach it. I had some that were just carried on as normal, that were just bold as brass, taking the piss out of me and stuff like that. I actually appreciated that, but that might not be everyone. Some people might be a bit more sensitive and they might not, want that kind of level of banter and things like that. For me, I just wanted people to just treat me as normal and just carry on chatting to me and stuff like that. And so, I would say that don't recoil away from your friend. They're in a situation where they probably wouldn't mind it. You're just chatting. It can be about anything. It could be just chatting about what you're doing at work. How you're getting on with things. Just keep that line of communication open with them, because they're probably going to appreciate that. And that's pretty much so kind of my entire experience of it all. I mean, I was quite scared, I'll be honest, going through the whole process, but I didn't let anyone know. I tried to keep the good old British stiff upper lip. I tried to make jokes about it. Just before I went in for surgery to have the testicle removed, I turned to my partner and said, yeah, when you next see me, I'm going to have lost some weight. As in, obviously, surgery, going to lose a testicle, bit of weight, I'll have lost some weight. Jokes like that, keeping my humour definitely kind of, I think, helped in that whole process, really, for me. And a lot of people said that they couldn't have handled it all as good as I did, and that they were really proud of me, which, I didn't think I'd done anything amazing. I'd just done what I was told, and I was just trying to go through it. But if there's anyone out there going through it right now, you've got my deepest sympathies, and you've got my support. If you reach out, if you want me to chat to you about anything, if you're unsure on anything, as we're all human at the end of the day. Sometimes you get scared, sometimes you're unsure and stuff, sometimes you just want a comforting word, and I'm happy to do that for anyone that watches this. One of the things I'd like to finish off on this video is, if you're the kind of person that on Facebook posts these whole I bet 3 people won't click like, I'm raising awareness on how I hate cancer, please, how many likes can I get on this post saying that I'm against, that cancer's rubbish and all this kind of stuff. Of course you're against cancer. Everyone's against cancer. I don't think there's a single person alive that's like, pro cancer, not a normal person anyway. And what that post isn't doing anything. It's literally, you all you're doing is highlighting on your social media feed that you're against cancer. I think that's a given. I think everyone is. I think we're all in that. And it's like saying, I'm going to give support, click to all those people fighting through it or have survived it and things like that. For me, I'd rather you just, that time it took you to write a Facebook message to make yourself feel better, I honestly would rather you just donate some money to Macmillan or some other great charity. Macmillan were really great for me. They were very supportive. I got a lot of help from them in my time of need. So I've got a lot of support for them. So yeah, just think about before you post it. I am somebody that's gone through cancer, and I look at them post like, why are you doing that? I don't know who you think you're posting that for, but I get the impression it's to make yourself feel better, or to make you want everyone to know that you're against cancer. I think everybody already knows that. All right. Stay safe, everyone. Stay well. Thanks for watching. Ciao for now, y'all.